Welcome to the Diaries podcast. This is where we talk about managing your time in ways that helps you accomplish your running goals. Lace up to get your race up. Let's get moving. Hey, what's up everybody out there running on native land, and welcome to the Diaries podcast. I'm your host, Luis, aka Chico, and this is episode number 1 of season 2, making it broadcast number 11. Thank you for spending some of your precious time listening to the show. I appreciate it. I'm definitely not going to waste it. Lace up to get your race up and let's get moving. We're at the starting line with this episode's guest, and she is a tough mother runner, a combat veteran, so thank you for your service. It's crazy distances and elevation in everything she traverses. She runs, she hikes, she's a mom, wife, educator, and she writes. That being said, it is an honor to host the author of the #1 new release titled Bombstotrails. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jessicapekari.
All right. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I am making it. It is 2022, so man, we got to start anew, right?
All right. Yep, definitely.
So Jessica, you are the first guest in season number 2, so let's kick this off with the Fast 5. These are 5 rapid-fire questions that give us a quick insight about you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1, do you prefer roads or trails?
Definitely trails.
Number 2, medals, buckles, or challenge coins?
Buckles, for sure.
Number 3, besides running, what is your favorite pastime?
Ooh, I'm actually a collector. Big nerd. Yeah.
Okay. Collector of what?
So I really enjoy Marvel characters.
Oh, nice.
So I like to collect pretty much anything along those lines.
That's awesome. Number 4, what is some advice that you would give to your younger self?
Not to be afraid to push limits. Also, it's important to rest. Rest when you need to. You don't always have to be running. You don't always have to be active. Take the time and allow your mind and your body to rest.
Number 5, what is something positive happening in your life right now?
Right now, I am working as a K-5 physical education teacher, and I really, really enjoy what I do.
That is awesome. Well, that was the Fast 5. Thank you for those answers. Now let's get down to business. Go ahead with your introduction.
All right. Hello. My name is Jessicapekari. I am from Wapato, Washington, and I am also Blackfeet Indian. I grew up in Washington for pretty much my entire childhood. And then when I turned 20, I decided to join the military to make something better of myself. So I joined and I became a combat medic and moved around for a few years. My husband is still active duty. So I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Texas, and now I live in Colorado.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I became a teacher about 5.5 years ago. So I've been teaching for 4 years.
And that is awesome. How many kids you have?
Right now, between, I would say, around 220 right now. So not too bad. It could be worse.
So I'm going to go back a little bit to your advice. Rapid fire question number 4. What advice would you give your younger self? And you said rest. Man, I think I needed to hear that because I've been going nonstop and it's finally catching up to me. So yeah, right. I needed to hear that one.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we're in the mindset, especially as runners, where we feel like we have to do something all the time. Like, oh man, I need to work out today. I need to work out tomorrow and keep going. Right. And then we don't allow ourselves to rest and our body to heal and to just become stronger. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's get into some running conversation and let's start off at the beginning. But before we do that, give us your Instagram handle so we can follow you.
Okay, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Jessicapekari.
Pekari. And I think when I introduced you, I said Pekari. So I apologize for that.
No, that's normal. When I actually first met my husband, which was in the Army, you go by last names. And I pronounced it Pekari. And he corrected me. He's like, it's Pekari. I'm like, oh, whatever, And then so I get it.
So how did you get into endurance running?
So it was kind of like a snowball effect. I had my third child in 2012. And so in 2013, I actually, for the first time ever in my life, I set a New Year's resolution. I wanted to
Okay.
do 20 races, and it could be any type of race. At the time we were in Germany, so they offered a free 5K every month. And
Yeah.
so we would just take the kids, put them in the stroller, we'd walk it, we'd run it, you know. And so that's kind of how it started. So we did 20 races that year, but it was like very minimal, you know, 5Ks
Yeah.
a year. I did a couple of triathlons. And then once we moved to El Paso, Texas, we started running the trails there because the Franklin Mountains, they were in our backyard.
Yeah.
Then I heard about a 50K there, the Franklin Mountains 50K. And I was just like, this seems awesome. Like, it's in our backyard. Why not? And
Yeah.
I had ran a marathon before, and everyone's like, well, if you run 26 miles, you can run a 50K. So
Yes.
I did that, and I absolutely loved it. Just the trail community was so much different than I had experienced on the road, as in, you know, road races.
Yeah.
They're just, it seems like it just felt more laid back. No one's in a rush to like get first place. Well, most
Right.
so, and then there's food, right? There's
Oh
pizza
man,
and
yes.
all kinds of delicious food at the aid stations. So I was like, this is awesome. And so that was in November of 2015.
Okay.
So
So when you jumped into trail running, were you knowledgeable at all, or did you just jump in and just learn as you go?
I was a little bit knowledgeable,
Okay.
but it's not 100%. So a lot of it is just learn as you go, I would say.
Okay. And just a little bit ago, you mentioned some Ironman events.
Mhm.
Obviously, these are way different than running only events because I've noticed on your Instagram that you've competed in Canada, Australia, and South Africa.
So I made it to the 70.3 World Championships in Africa.
What?
Yeah, and I did the one in Australia. My husband also made it.
Okay.
It was really cool. But I didn't go to the South Africa one because the cost, it was really
Oh,
high. And then it was also during the Triple Crown of 200 milers. And so it
okay.
was kind of this or that. And so it's not like I really saved money
Yeah.
because I, you know, chose the Triple Crown, but I felt like I got a lot more out of, you know, what I wanted to do doing the 200-mile races. Yeah, I did compete. I competed in a few half Ironmans, 70.3 miles. And then I did the Ironman, the full Ironman here
Yeah.
in Boulder, Colorado. And now
Man.
it's, yeah, now there's no more full. They took it away. It's just a half now. So
Oh, okay. So at the beginning of the whole COVID thing, I had this urge to do an Ironman, and I actually did start training for it. So I started swimming a lot and everything. And then COVID come and it just kind of shot my plans down and everything. One of the things that I was always conflicted with was watching them run with a bike. And I'm just like, that's got to be hard. And then you realize how little it weighs. Then the other thing that I was conflicted with was the transition from swimming to getting into biking gear and then get on your bike and start going. Can you kind of talk us through this and everything just to so I can get a better understanding?
yeah, so the swimming portion is usually it's in a lake, it could be in an ocean. And then as soon as you get out of the water, there are people there to help you take off your wetsuit
Okay.
if you're wearing one. But you're also wearing a triathlon suit underneath your wetsuit. So all you
Okay.
have to do is get your helmet on and your bike shoes
Okay.
on. And so
Now,
then that's when you like take off with your bike and you're like putting everything on. And,
okay.
yeah.
So, um, watching some videos and everything, and this is like I said, I haven't got to this point yet, but they were talking about bike shoes. Like you have to clip them in and like turn a certain way, and like once you're in, like they're in, like right. Like if you
Yeah,
fall, you just kind of fall, right?
yeah, you'll just fall. And in order to take them out, you have to clip them out
Oh
and
man.
then get your foot off. And so it can be really challenging, especially, you know, after been on your bike for so long, and
Yeah.
then to go and like unclip and your legs feel like jello, and just the transition of after cycling and then going straight into running, it's wild.
Oh man. All right, so we're going to move back into running. In your Instagram feed, you show that your first 100-mile ultra was the Cold Water Rumble in 2016, and you placed second overall on this one?
I
Or
was second female.
second female. Can you tell us about this experience? I mean, were you nervous? Were you pumped up? And how did your overall first 100-mile race go?
I was extremely nervous. That was the first time that I'd actually had the opportunity to push my body beyond what I thought it was capable of.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't sleep, so I stayed up the entire time. And so I had hallucinations really early on. I remember
Oh, wow.
I remember looking up at a star and it was dancing at me. And so it was yeah, and then just all the mental games that go into 100. At times you have this crazy high where you're like, this is great, I love it, this is awesome, and then you have this low where like you're just like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this?
Yes. And I get that feeling a lot. I mean, that thought, like, why am I doing this? I paid to do this. And then
Right.
I'm always just like, when I'm done, I'm just like, okay, that's why I did it. You know what I mean? That feeling of accomplishment always just brings me back.
And then you go and you sign up for another one.
Yes. So it seems like you spent a lot of time in the El Paso Mountains. That'll be running the Franklins or the Lone Star 100. But speaking of the Franklins, I need to hear this firsthand. Your experience with running the Franklins 200 miler and the 100K, all within the same event weekend, right?
Right.
Let's talk about this. Hey, before we start this, let's give a shout out to Trail Racing Over Texas.
Yeah, Trail Racing Over Texas. It's just a great ultra running community that Rob and Rachel Goyen, they're the race directors that they've built. They bring a lot of races to Texas, and just the amount of support that they provide for trail runners is phenomenal. So I have a lot of respect for them.
Heck yeah. Whoa, time out. I agree. Trail Racing Over Texas, a great trail racing organization. If any of you listeners out there are ever looking for a trail race down here in Texas, be sure to check out Trail Racing Over Texas. Great races, great race support, great community. You won't be disappointed. Love you, Rob and Rachel. Thank you for everything that you do. Time in. Well, let us know about your experience.
Oh my gosh. So I ran the 200-mile Franklin race in 2019. Yes, 2019. And I loved it. I mean, as much as you could love a 200, I guess. There's a ton of climbing. And it's just like really rough and rugged. There's cactus, there's tons of rocks and boulders. There's just anything that you could think that a desert would throw at you, it'll throw at you. It got really cold at night, and then it was really hot during the day. So just the fluctuation in temperatures was crazy. So then I sort of got overconfident. And in 2019, I decided I would push limits even further. I'm sorry, 2020. I pushed limits, right, 2020. I'd push limits even further, and I would tack on more mileage, which is 100K. But that's sort of where things took a turn for the worse. And I don't know if I really want to get too much into it. I ended up getting really sick, and I didn't finish the 200-miler. I ended up in the hospital with rhabdo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had family that they were coming to run the 100K with me.
Yeah.
And they had never ran a race before. And then they had to see me in the hospital. So you can only imagine like the looks on their faces.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm happy you made it through. I'm sure that's a story that lives in infamy and a piece of literature that you just written.
Yeah, it's definitely in there.
Well, hey, Jessica, the Triple Crown, the Bigfoot 200,
the Tahoe 200, the Moab 240. These are 3 200+ mile runs in 3 consecutive months. Give us the rundown of your experience.
So the Bigfoot 200 is the first of the 3, and that was the first 200 I'd ever ran. And that one, I had never pushed my body that far before at all.
Yeah.
So I just remember just being awake. So my first goal was to see how long I could stay awake for.
Yeah.
And I made it was like 32 or 34 hours, somewhere in that realm.
Oh,
before
wow.
I actually sat down to take a nap. And then my nap was like 15 minutes. And then I got up. And so just my feet were hurting so much. But I had a support crew at that race.
Yeah.
And then my sister, she shared some miles with me. So that was great. And so that race is pretty woodsy. It has the most climbing out of the 3.
Okay.
Oh, and I placed second place female at that race. I don't remember what I got overall.
Oh, wow. That was the Bigfoot 200?
That was a Bigfoot 200.
Nice.
And then a month later is the Tahoe 200. And that goes around, Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
That area. And that course is also, it's beautiful. And I got pretty sick. It was just from the food, all the food and stuff I was eating. And, sometimes you don't know how your body's going to react to what you're asking it to do and the amount of calories you're trying to take in.
Yeah.
So, so I got pretty sick at that race and I slept for about 7 hours.
Oh, wow.
So I wasn't able to really push the sleep deprivation at that one, but
Yeah.
I ended up 4th female at that race. So then going into Moab, I was determined because my Tahoe race didn't go as well as I wanted it to, which while running, nothing ever does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the Moab 240, I really wanted to push my limits at that one. And I stayed up, it was 36, 38 hours-ish, somewhere in that realm, before I actually took a power nap. And that race, it's pretty deserty too in some areas. And then you climb into the La Salle's mountain range there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of snow in that mountain range, and it got really cold at night. And yeah, but I enjoyed it. So
that's good. Rate these races: most beautiful, most difficult, one you'd like to run again.
Most beautiful for me is Bigfoot.
Okay.
But I'm from Washington, so it has to be. Most difficult would be the Franklin Mountains.
Okay.
I think also what makes it difficult is it's a looped course. So you're not just going from point A trying to go to point B.
Right.
So it kind of plays with you mentally, because
yeah.
And stop if you wanted to, right?
Yep.
And then one race that I would like to do again would be the Bigfoot 200.
Nice. So what was the biggest obstacle that you've endured during this feat, meaning the Triple Crown?
The biggest obstacle, I think I want to say my feet were the biggest obstacle. Just being up on your feet for that long, they just sob so much. It's excruciating, the pain, that your feet go through, just not sitting or resting.
Right.
And so every step felt like I was walking on nails, after you get to a certain point. Yeah. So that was really difficult.
What is the biggest aspect that made you successful in that feat?
I think mentally, I was pretty strong going into them. And I feel like I have a pretty high pain threshold.
Yeah.
So I think that really helps.
And if any one of our listeners is preparing to take on this challenge, can you give them some advice?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Time on feet. Try to spend your day not sitting, just stay up. And also maybe one thing that was really helpful for me was at the time I was teaching in Texas. And so every Friday we did a wellness walk. And I was co-teaching with another PE teacher. And so we would just walk these loops with the students, except for me, I would run with them. And then, and then that class would be over and the next class would come in. And so you got a 15-minute break where they're warming up. And then we would take off and I'd run with them also. So then I was running and then I was not running and then running and then not running. And and that's kind of how trail racing is. You know, you run to the aid station, you take breaks, you run, you don't.
Yeah.
So I felt like that really, really benefited me when it came to the 200s.
You said during the Triple Crown, your feet were, you know, one of the issues that you've dealt with. What shoes do you do these ultra distances in?
So for the Triple Crown, I wore the Hoka's ATR 4s,
Okay.
Hoka Challengers ATR 4s.
Okay.
And now they discontinued those shoes, which they're my favorite. And I wish they would bring them back. I would buy like a million pairs if I could.
Right.
And now they've already, they're on the ATR 6s now.
Oh, okay.
So using those.
So one of the things that I would love to do, so you're going to have to give me some insight on this because I see this posted on your Instagram a few times, is the Incline in Colorado Springs. Can you tell us about this? Like, I mean, I see it and I really want to make it there. But for those who don't know what it is, can you explain it to us and kind of give us your experience with that?
Yeah, so the Incline is 2,678 steps of sheer torture. So you start, it's just step after step after step, and it's just a straight, straight up from point A to point B. It's 0.8 miles long, and you climb around 2,000 feet. And yeah. And then if you wanted to make it even more challenging from there, you can head up to Pikes Peak, which is a 14,000 foot mountain. So
you ever make it up there?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I see you hike a lot. I don't even know where you are anymore. You know what I mean? Like you're on that one, you're on this one. So right. How many times do you think you hike per month?
I would say at least 2 to 3 times per week.
Oh wow.
And I mean, I'm not always by myself, I
right.
like with my kids, my family. But I have a few places here in Colorado Springs that I absolutely love. And it's just because of how much vertical gain you can get from hiking it. Because I feel like some of the most beautiful views are, atop a mountain.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, now let's move into the Pacific Crest Trail, fastest known time attempt. And this is the basis of your book. And your book is titled Bombstotrails, Interweaving Heritage, Life, and PTSD on the Pacific Crest Trail.
That's correct.
So I followed your story as it was unfolding, but to realize what you were out there doing was just astonishing. From the initial idea to the end, can you tell us the details, give us your experience with this whole venture that you went on?
Right. So 10 years prior to my attempt, I heard about the Pacific Crest Trail through a friend. He had hiked the Appalachian Trail. And so I saw all of his photos. And so I was sort of living vicariously through him. Okay. And so I started talking to him about backpacking. And then it was actually my husband that was like, hey, there's a trail that starts or ends in Washington State. And that's the Pacific Crest Trail. And I was I had never heard about it. So I was like, what is it? How long is it?
Yeah.
That's when like the wheels started turning in my head. And so what I found out was you can either start at the Canadian border.
Yeah.
In Washington, and then you'll go through through Oregon and California, which is where it ends at the Mexican border. Or you can start vice versa at the Mexican border and head up to the Northern Monument, the Canadian border.
Okay.
And the trail is 2,650 miles long. And so the mileage, I feel like it sounds ridiculous, but
yes.
But I think what made it sound easier or feel easier to me.
Yeah.
I just took it chunks at a time.
Okay.
So I would take it day by day and then state by state or section by section.
Okay.
So yeah, and there's actually no female record starting from the Northern Monument, hiking all the way down to the Southern Monument.
Okay.
There's a ton of records. If you look on the fastest known time website, there's a ton of records starting from the Mexican border and finishing at the Canadian border.
Okay.
So I'm stubborn, and I guess I like to do things more difficult. So I just thought I would start on the non-traditional route and start at
Yeah.
the Canadian border and hike my way down to the southern border.
Well, like I said, I followed your journey immediately the day that the book was released on Kindle. The moment, like, I grabbed it automatically. And then when it was released hard copy, I was actually traveling to Montana, so I had it shipped to me in Montana, and then I left before it arrived, so I had my mom ship it back down here, so it got here. So I read so far into it, you can see all my tabs already. I tabbed it up. I got to one piece, and I have to read this to you.
Oh, all right, go for it.
So at my feet and centered on the trail is a huge hawk feather. It is perfectly shaped, clean of mud or grime, and shimmers slightly. I hear my great-grandfather Albert Madplume's voice in the back of my head telling me that he intentionally dropped this feather for me. My aunt told me that in our Blackfeet culture, my great-grandfather takes on the form of a hawk. So the reason that strikes me, and I make a very tight connection with this, is Albert Madplume is my grandfather's brother. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
so I guess are we cousins?
Yeah. That's what the Blackfeet reservations. You never know who you're related to.
Right?
So wow, that's amazing.
Yes, it was crazy because like I read it and I was just like, hold on. Like, when you're reading and you kind of like zone out and you just like, hold on, did I just, am I understanding what I read? I literally had to go back. I'm like, hold on. Wait, what? And then I like immediately called my mom, and then, yeah. So long story short, yes. Nice to meet you, cousin.
Wow, that is amazing.
Right?
I had no idea. That is so cool. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, anyway, let's move on, cousin.
Right.
In some of the parts that I was reading, like on the trail, when you're out there, it's literally just you in the trail, like for miles, right? I mean, it's just you.
Right. It's just me. And there actually days would go by before I would come across anybody. And you're pretty much way out in the middle of nowhere. There's no service. If you need help, it's going to be a while before anybody can get to you.
Wow.
So
Was the trail clearly marked and like present, or was it identifiable, or did you have to trailblaze at times?
So the first few weeks, it was mostly trailblazing.
Oh, wow.
I had a map on my phone that I followed.
Okay.
And I had that out like 99% of the time, just because there was so much snow in Washington that the trail was well under it. So I had no idea how packed the snow was, like how many inches above snow I was.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, there should be a pretty tall wooden sign here, and there's nothing.
Oh, no.
So it could also be, it's a little scary at times, because you're constantly thinking like, if I turn just a little bit left, I'll be going the wrong way. If I turn just a little bit right, I'm going the wrong way. And then sometimes you're like, I don't know what's under me. You could fall in a hole or a crevasse, or, something to get you stuck.
Yeah. One of the words that I keep coming across here, and I don't understand what it is. It's like post-holing.
Post-holing, right. So post-holing is when there's a huge thing of snow and you take a step and your foot sinks into that hole.
Okay.
That's post-holing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the snow is pretty soft. And so it's just, like I said before, it's like quicksand. So you take a step, your foot sinks. Then you go and take another step, your foot sinks. So it's just constant like sinking, and it's super exhausting. And plus you have extra weight on your back. So it's even more tiring.
Yeah. And of course, coming from the country, coming from a ranch and everything, every time I see post holing, my head is like digging post holes.
Right.
So like I just could not make the connection.
Yeah. No, I get
So-
it.
Right, this is it.
There's one video on your Instagram, and it really
California,
overwhelmed
baby.
me. And I watched it live when you were broadcasting it. It was when you were entering California, and you show the sign,
Only
and it says like
1,000
1,694 miles to go. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't fathom that. But to you, that was, a relief. Like it showed your progress and everything, and like how far you've accomplished already on that day and everything. Can you tell us how relieved you felt when you made some milestones and everything?
Oh, it's super emotional.
Yeah.
Just to see the signs in person, and then to think like, wow, I just hiked, over 500 miles or whatever the mileage is just to get to this point, and it feels surreal. You're just like, I can't believe I actually made it here. And then you open up the logbook, and then I'm just like, what should I write? This is such a great, like, this is a phenomenal moment
Yeah.
on the trail. And then I'm every logbook, I'm like, what should I write? I don't know. Should I make it something like inspirational or some cheesy quote? And usually
Yeah.
I would just put my name.
Oh, okay. So one thing I want to know is, how did you prepare your food? What did you learn to take? Like, how did you trial and error all this together, and how did you kind of make it fit to where you knew how many days you were going to be out?
So I did so much research, and I knew I would try to average around 40 miles a day at least. And so that's sort of how I base my calories,
Okay.
plus an additional day. So I would carry between 6 to 8 days of food at a time. And I dehydrated a lot of my own meals.
Yeah.
That was a lot of trial and error. So a lot of like, oh, this tastes horrible, or this tastes pretty good. I bought some dehydrated meals, and then I kept a spreadsheet of everything that I was putting in for, day 1, day 2, day 3. Like, it was extensive. The list was extensive.
Yeah.
And that way I knew what would be in my drop boxes.
Okay.
So I pre-mailed boxes to certain areas where I could pick up mail, and that would be filled with whatever food I need for that next section. So it was a lot of it's kind of like a puzzle. Like, how many days do I need? Where should I mail off these boxes? And then also, because it was during COVID, it was just like,
oh yeah,
will the box even be there? When I get there, is that place going to be shut down? I have no idea. I'm just gonna pray everything goes okay.
Yeah, so you're pre-mailing your boxes and everything. I got that idea from you. So when I ran the Tour de los Tejas 300K last year, I used your platform, and I went to all my hotels that I projected to stay at and put drop boxes there and everything. And I got that idea from you. So I guess thank you.
So I guess I want to ask you a question really quick.
Yeah.
When you pre-mailed the items to your places, was there also a store there?
No.
No?
Well, actually, one place there was a store.
So did you pay out? That's what I'm getting at.
I actually drove. So only one of them I mailed. The other ones I just drove on the day of. And I mean, in this day and age, I was just like, here's a box. I'm checking in on this day. I mean, coming from a military mindset, giving somebody a box and it's like, hey, keep this here. Don't open it. You know what I mean? You can understand what was going through people's heads. So I gave them the option, hey, you can look through it. You can do whatever you want. But when I arrive, we'll need this stuff, So I did plan on doing that race unsupported. It didn't go like that.
No.
I needed support pretty early and everything. So I kind of leaned on some of the other race supporters until my wife was able to show up and everything. So yeah, it's just a lesson learned for me.
Yeah. And I think even when you're unsupported, there's still some type of support that you get along the way, with whether it's prepping prior and your family's helping you, or just them messaging you.
Oh yeah. All right. So on the PCT, how did you see where you wanted to camp? Like, how did you pick those out?
So I was using, it's called the Gut Hooks Guide. Sorry. It's called the Gut Hooks Guide.
Okay, Gut Hooks.
And what it is, it's a detailed map of the trail, and
Okay.
it has all of the campsites listed on there that had a safe enough or flat enough spot for you to set up a tent, or however you were going to camp for that night.
Okay.
So every night before I went to bed, I would take out my guide and I would look at it, and I would make a goal, like, this is the campsite I want to make it to. And it's like rugged camping. It's just some trees and maybe a patch of dirt. And then there's no restrooms. There's, there's nothing around. It's just you and like this tree. So
I understand.
That's sort of how I figured out where I wanted to stay for that night. I mean, technically you could just camp wherever you wanted to on the trail.
Yeah.
But I stuck to the guide.
Okay. Did you ever have to revert to your military land nav skills or anything?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
In Washington, just because of the snow, there were some areas that were pretty tricky. And so I did a lot of, how they say, like, if you're lost, go back to where you started.
Yeah.
Sort of, I stuck with that. And there were a lot of areas where I had to do that.
Oh, wow.
And I guess one of the upsides of the snow is I could see my footsteps, so I knew where I had come from.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Made it easier to tracking where I had left.
Yeah, I was, that was one of the thoughts in my head when I was reading your book. I was like, oh man, like for me, I would just be land associating a lot, terrain associating and trying to keep myself oriented to the lay of the land. Because I remember when I was going through land nav and everything, how nervous I'd get when I'd get somewhere and my objective was not there. I'm like, oh no, I got the wrong ID tag.
Do you remember the acronym, the Hidden Valley Ranch Dressing?
Yes.
Hill Valley Ridge Saddle Depression.
Mm-hmm.
That totally works.
Yes.
It works.
And you use your hand and stuff.
Yeah. 100%.
So how did you record or vlog all of your ideas that are going to go into your book? Like, what was going through your head and how did you make it come to fruition?
So before I started the trail, I had talked to another friend who writes, and I was asking her, hey, do you have any advice on a recorder? That was my plan. I'm going to record every day how I'm feeling. I just want to know, and where I'm at on the trail. I was just going to record. And she was like, you don't need a recorder. She's like, you're going to have your phone with you. Why don't you bring your phone? And I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. I'd never used the recording setting on my phone before, ever.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's awesome. So every day I was on the trail, either in the morning or the night, I would record how my day went prior or how my day's going.
Yeah.
If I had any type of feelings, I would record like, oh, I'm feeling this way today, or I saw something and it made me feel this way. I think without the recordings, there's no way I would have been able to really write my book, because some of the things I forgot about, and then I would go listen to the recording when I was writing. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that,
Yeah.
Because every day is just, day after day, hiking and then hiking and then hiking. So
yeah. So your backpack, how much did all of that weigh?
So the beginning, my backpack weighed, I would say, between 35 and 40 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I was trying to be super minimalist and go ultra light, but then I had to carry crampons, which weigh a ton.
Okay. What are
So,
crampons?
so crampons have these really sharp, jagged teeth that you see like ice climbers use.
Okay.
Yeah, they're super, super grippy on the snow. So they're a lifesaver. And then I also carried micro spikes. The micro spikes have really tiny.
Okay.
The jags they're tiny jagged. How would you say that?
I think I can understand what you mean.
You're
I
right.
wouldn't know how to say it
Like, how
either.
would I say it? So they're not as jagged as the crampons. And
Okay.
then I also had to carry ice axe.
Oh, wow.
Right, because a lot of the areas felt to me like they were at 90-degree angles that you're hiking on.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I had my ice axe in one hand and I would stab it into the snow. And then I had my trekking pole in the other hand and I would stab that into the snow. And then I would take, one step. And then it was just like a repeat. That way,
Yeah.
if I slipped, I could grab a hold of the ice axe and it would keep me from falling to my death, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah.
And then besides that, I also had to carry extra winter gear. So,
Oh,
to
man.
keep me warm at night.
Yeah. So with all of this gear that you're constantly carrying, what parts of your body were taking a brunt of this?
My shoulders for sure, just
Yeah.
because of the weight. And then my feet really.
Oh, wow.
So, and I was wearing my ATR at the time, well, ATR 5s now.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wearing any type of hiking boot. I just stuck with my trail shoes.
Can you explain what a bear bag is?
So a bear bag, mine, it has this bulletproof type of material. And
Okay.
it's just like a regular sack, just like
All
a
right.
regular bag. Except for it's super durable and it's supposed to hold up against any type of critters that want to steal your food. So
Oh, okay.
I carried this bear bag, and then inside the bear bag, it's called an op sack, and it prevents the odors of your food from getting out of your bag. So
Oh, okay.
as like an added safeguard to keep your food safe. And so you cinch it down and then you tie it around a branch or a tree. And that keeps an animal from trying to steal it and run away with it.
Oh, okay. And that was always distant from you when you were
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yeah, I try to hang it up at least 200 yards away. And it wasn't a requirement on the trail, but
Yeah.
I just did it because food is life.
Yeah, definitely. So when you're out there in complete solitude, what is going through your mind to keep you going?
Oh man. So unlike running where I sort of don't think about anything,
Okay.
hiking, I feel like you slow down. And so everything would go through my mind. I mean, I would fixate on the smallest things. Sometimes it could just be what my next meal is going to be. Like, I can't wait for my set lunchtime.
Yeah.
And I would just think about this food. And then sometimes I'd give in and eat lunch early,
Right.
And I would think about my family. I thought a lot about my time when I was in the military.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to process a lot of things that I had buried deep down inside from when I was in the military.
Yeah.
But I think it was a really positive type of therapy for me going on this hike.
That's good. I don't want to spoil the book, but do you plan on revisiting the PCT?
Definitely 100%. For me, it's timing because I have kids.
Right.
I have a job. It's just if the opportunity presents itself, I'm definitely gonna jump on it. But it's also it's a lot asking. It's a lot to ask of my kids and my family. And it's not just me hiking the trail, it's also their support.
Right. I totally understand. And like I offer to all my guests, and of course you, since you're my cousin, if you do revisit the trail and you need some assistance, let me know. I'm always ready to help out any way, shape, form, or fashion that I can.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely. Whoa, time out again. I feel like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. I wonder if I can play my air guitar here. This book by my cousin Jessica Pekari, titled Bombstotrails, Interweaving Heritage, Life, and PTSD on the Pacific Crest Trail, is amazing. In an effort to set the southbound fastest known time record on the Pacific Crest Trail, Jessica Pekari sets out on an adventure to hike from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. Jessica Pekari is an ultra runner and used to pushing her body to its limits. But the challenges she faces on the trail test both her mental and her physical endurance. As a veteran, she finds herself battling with flashbacks from her days as a medic in the United States Army as she discovers more about herself and her Blackfeet and Mexican heritage. If you're a hiker, you need this book. If you're a runner, you need this book. If you're an adventurer, you need this book. Follow the link in her Instagram bio at Jessica Pekari or go to adventuresonatrail.com. One more airlick for the road. Is there anything that we left out, Jessica? And time in.
I also have signed copies available on that website, or you can look for it on Amazon. And yeah.
Well, since I don't have a signed copy, I guess I'm going to get on there and get me one. I got every other platform already, so might as well get that one too. All right, Jess. Now we're going to move on to a few warm-up questions before we move into the 5 to stay alive. So warm-up question number 1. Do you have any running events on your bucket list?
So I have been looking at the Sangre de Cristo 200 miler here in Colorado.
Okay.
And I've also been looking at backpacking the Colorado Trail this summer, and that's about 500 miles long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, well, compared to the PCT.
Yeah. I mean, I can ask for 2 weeks away from my kids.
Yeah. All right. Do you prefer fry bread or bannock bread?
Ooh, fry bread.
There you go.
Actually, my mom just came and visited us for the holidays and made us this full batch of fry bread, and they were gone the next day.
Yes. I love fry bread.
Those are the warm-up questions, and now it's time for the 5 to stay alive. These are the questions that I ask every guest about themselves and what keeps them going. Are you ready to answer the 5 to stay alive?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. Do you run with or without music? And if so, what is one power song on your running playlist that motivates you?
So if I'm on the trails, I run without music. Unless it's a really populated trail, then I use the, what are they called? They're the headphones that don't go in your ears.
Aftershocks.
Aftershocks, yes.
There you go.
I got some aftershocks for my husband. So I will use those sometimes, like if I'm climbing the incline.
Okay, there you go.
And I like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes! I love it!
Yeah, it's great. And I also like Panic at the Disco, and they also play Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, man. So I'm going to put Bohemian Rhapsody by Panic at the Disco on the running playlist for you.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Question number 2. What are some things in your life that have positively changed since you've started running?
I feel like since I started running, I'm more aware of myself, more aware of my body. I know when I should stop, when I need to rest. I feel like running lets you tap into that.
Nice. Question number 3. What is one thing that an athlete should avoid in their journey to becoming a better runner?
Ooh. I would say the same as before, just listen to your body and not what someone else may be telling you. Sometimes it's easy to get pressured into things also.
Yes.
So yeah, try not to give in.
Question number 4. Finish this statement. When it comes to long distance running, Jessica cannot leave the house without her
running vest. Even if it's a short run, I love to wear my running vest because I don't like anything in my hands. And so I always have my phone on me, or some type of device, like a tracker, like a Garmin InReach or a Spot, if I'm going out on the trails.
Yeah. Which vest do you use?
So I use the Women's Osprey Dyna 1.5 liter.
Okay. Are you color specific? Like, does it have to be a certain color for you to get, or just if it's that model, that's the one I'm getting?
So sometimes it depends on the price, because running vests can be pricey.
Yes.
I'll go with whatever's cheaper, but I really love blues and greens.
Okay. Question number 5. Do you have a running mantra?
So my running mantra sort of stems from the military. It's the slowest smooth, smoothest fast.
Love it. All right, Jessica, is there anything you want to add, go back and talk about before we close this episode out?
Yeah. Actually, just wanted to say that I was able to hike the Pacific Crest Trail only because I had tremendous support from my family. And I feel like going into these events without them, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of races that I've done. So I feel really blessed, that I have such a strong support crew on my side.
I love it. And I'm right there with you. Give them all a shout out real quick.
So that would be definitely my husband, Tim, my kids, Tennessee, Juliana, and Carolyn. And then my mom, she's been at a few races where she's been the support crew. My mom, Debbie, and my sister, Glenna, and brother, Michael.
That is awesome. On behalf of us, thank y'all for supporting, our fellow athlete and everything, and my cousin.
Which your cousin? Yeah, that was just said that you're cousins too.
All right, Jessica. For years, you have motivated me as well as others. So to have you as a guest on this show is definitely an honor. Your accomplishments are outstanding and a testament to your heart, your drive, your commitment, and your consistency. Your journey is inspiring and teaches us the importance of promoting mental health. Thank you for sharing your amazing journey with us, and thank you for being our guest.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really
definitely.
Thank you, cousin.
Hey, it is cousin. I'll see you out there on the trails.
Absolutely.
We're approaching a finish line, but before we cross, here's some news and views. That was Jessica Pekari of the Blackfeet Indian Nation. Jessica has always been one of my main inspirations since I've started my endurance running career. So it goes without saying, yes, I definitely look up to her. Through our conversation, 3 things stood out to me. The first is how being on the trails allows us to filter through our own thoughts and past experiences, dissect, process, and understand them, which in turn becomes positive therapy for our own mental health. Secondly, Jessica, like many runners, is a strong advocate of family and their support. Though she has accomplished so much already, planning to do more rightfully takes its place behind her family and their time. Here's Jessica. So when you're out there in complete solitude, what is going through your mind to keep you going?
Oh man. So unlike running, where I sort of don't think about anything, hiking, I feel like you slow down, and so everything would go through my mind. I mean, I would fixate on the smallest things. Sometimes it could just be what my next meal is gonna be. Like, I can't wait for my set lunchtime.
Yeah.
And I would just think about this food, and then sometimes I'd give in and eat lunch early,
Right.
And I would think about my family. I thought a lot about my time when I was in the military.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to process a lot of things that I had buried deep down inside from when I was in the military.
Yeah.
But I think it was a really positive type of therapy for me going on this hike. I was able to hike the Pacific Crest Trail only because I had tremendous support from my family. And I feel like going into these events without them, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of races that I've done. So I feel really blessed, that I have such a strong support crew on my side.
I love it. Give them all a shout out real quick.
So that would be definitely my husband, Tim, my kids, Tennessee, Juliana, and Carolyn. And then my mom, she's been at a few races where she's been the support crew. My mom, Debbie, and my sister, Glenna, and brother, Michael.
Do you plan on revisiting the PCT?
Definitely, 100%. For me, it's timing because I have kids.
Right.
I have a job. It's just if the opportunity presents itself, I'm definitely gonna jump on it. But it's also it's a lot asking. It's a lot to ask of my kids and my family, and it's not just me hiking the trail. It's also their support.
Jessica's words and actions are heartfelt, and they encourage other athletes to express their appreciation for those family members and friends that have helped them accomplish their running goals. So if you're an athlete listening, give thanks to those who have helped you or are helping you get to where you want to be. The third thing that stood out to me is I'm talking to one of my idols. This literally occurred to me during our conversation. And finding out that she was my cousin made me even more proud of all of her accomplishments. Heck, my cousin, just some wicked in it. Go get the book, Bombstotrails, and read about this amazing journey for yourself. All right, Jessica, thank you for your service. Thank you for being our guest. And thank you for sharing this amazing journey with us. Keep moving and keep improving. Love, peace, and fry bread grease, cousin. And I'll see you out there on the trails. Next, we have 2 additions to the Run Shoe Diaries Spotify guest playlist. First off, the playlist is updated after each of my guests add their songs, and it contains the songs that keeps them motivated. Go to the Run Shoe Diaries Spotify page to download. Jessica Pekari is going to be adding Bohemian Rhapsody by Panic at the Disco. Did I say the name of the band right? I think it's written like that. Panic at the Disco. This just in. Jessica Pekari is going to be adding Bohemian Rhapsody by Panic at the Disco. I'm going to be adding Rose Tattoo by the Dropkick Murphys. So there you go, 2 additions to the Run Shoe Diaries Spotify guest playlist to refresh and get you back on the road. And that brings the Spotify guest playlist to 15 songs. Download, run, and enjoy. Lastly, and on a more serious note, I live by the quote, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done, for a long time. I, and we as endurance athletes, put our bodies through a lot, and at times, this can get us sidelined. Sometimes we just need to look at things from a different angle. So here's a quote by my youngest daughter that can help us. Practice makes perfect, but nothing's perfect. So practice makes good. Keep that in mind and stay healthy. It's so simple, so innocent, yet so true. And with that, we have crossed the finish line. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or guest recommendations, contact me at runshoe.diaries@gmail.com. Again, that is runshoe.diaries@gmail.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Keyword search Run Shoe Diaries. Thank you for listening to the Run Shoe Diaries podcast, episode 11 with Jessica Pekari. Until next time, remember that with each step comes the decision to take another. So keep putting one foot in front of the other because it's amazing what you can do on your own 2 feet, and I'm out.